Before electric cars were invented, the main sources of transportation was by horse-driven coach, railway, or steam-powered vehicles. Electric and gas-powered vehicles were introduced to the world around the same time. By the 1800s, almost every car manufacturer at the time was fascinated by electric cars, but it wasn't until the second half of the 19th century that French and English inventors built some of the world's first practical electric vehicles. In the United States, the first practical electric car came out in 1890 thanks to William Morrison, who created a vehicle that was just a little bit more than an electric wagon and was able to go a top speed of 14 miles per hour. Morrison, proving that electric cars were possible, inspired many automakers to begin making models of electric cars, and by the 1900s, a third of all cars on the road were electric. Steam-powered cars were also being used because the use of steam was proven to be a reliable source of energy when it came to factories and trains, but when it came to personal vehicles, they weren't very practical because they could take up to 45 minutes to start in cold weather, and they were constantly needing to be filled up with more water. Gas-powered vehicles were also being used, but they were noisy, smelly, used gears, and had to be started with a hand crank, which was very difficult to do. Electric cars were smooth and quiet, making them very appealing to people. Once more people started to gain access to electricity, more and more people found themselves interested in owning an electric vehicle. This all changed when in 1908, Henry Ford made a Model T gasoline-powered car, which was very affordable and dealt a blow to electric cars, considering the Model T costed $650, while most electric cars costed $1,750. In 1912, Charles Kettering introduced the electric starter, which eliminated the hand crank, and in 1920, Texas crude oil was discovered, making gas cheaper and easily accessible. By 1935, electric cars had pretty much disappeared. In the late 1960s and the early 1970s, oil prices drastically increased and there were gasoline shortages. Congress then passed the Electric and Hybrid Vehicle Research, Development, and Demonstration Act of 1976, authorizing the Energy Department to support research and development in electric and hybrid vehicles. In 1990, the Clean Air Act Amendment and the 1992 Energy Policy Act renewed the interest of electric vehicles in the U.S. Automakers began to modify some of their popular vehicle models and make them electric, and were eventually able to get these cars to have a higher top speed and a range of 60 miles. General Motors' EV1 was an electric car built from the ground up that had a range of 80 miles and a speed of up to 50 miles per hour, but because of its high production cost, it discontinued in 2001. The Toyota Prius was built in Japan in 1997 and became available to the rest of the world in 2000. Gas prices were increasing, and the growing concern about air pollution contributed to the Prius soon becoming the best-selling hybrid in the world. In 2008, Tesla came out with luxury vehicle cars that were electric and had a range of 200 miles, and this really brought up the popularity of the electric car. In late 2010, the Chevy Volt and the Nissan Leaf were introduced. Soon after, 20,000 charging outlets were built so people can charge their cars on the go. Within 4 years, the cost of electric car batteries went down 50%, making the overall cost of an electric vehicle more affordable. Today, there are 23 models of plug-in electric vehicles and 36 hybrid models available in a variety of different sizes. As gasoline prices begin to raise and electric car prices begin to drop, electric cars are on the rise. Today, there are 234,000 plug-in electric vehicles and 3.3 million hybrids on the road in the U.S. If we continue to replace more of gas-powered vehicles with electric vehicles, we can reduce our dependence on foreign oil by 30 to 60% and lower carbon pollution by as much as 20%. Although the electric car has come a long way over the years, many departments are working to overcome the electric vehicles' problems that are holding them back from becoming the obvious choice for all Americans when it comes to owning a car. Electric cars have a bright future and are most likely here to stay.